Let nothing grieve thee. Place thy trust in God. He is with thee at all times. Trust in him and commit thine affairs to the hand of omnipotence. Verily his vision transcendeth thine, and he desires for thee that which the mind hath not conceived. This is that which profiteth thee. Verily thy Lord is the all-possessing, the exalted. Baha'u'llah.
Thank you so much. So now I'll introduce our speaker for today, and just a reminder to please save all your questions until after the talk when we'll have our Q&A session. And if you're new to the Baha'i Faith, or if you'd like to be added to our mailing list, please fill out the Google form that we'll put in the chat below. Our speaker this week is Dr. Giuseppe Robiati, and his topic is The Future After the Pandemic in the Baha'i Vision. Dr. Giuseppe Robiati has spent his life combining his business activities with a parallel educational and spiritual role, which aims to bring the concepts of a new world order into business. Publications and lectures delivered in a number of countries around the world has allowed him to share his growing experience and expertise to an ever wider circle of business people, civil society, professors, academics, students, and in Baha'i meetings. Applying his principles of ethics, the management of human resources as the mine of gems that they are, a business model that looks at the benefit of the stakeholders and the spiritual principles of Baha'u'llah, has allowed his entrepreneurial career to prosper whilst setting a practical example of actions matching words. Working with a team of collaborators, he has built extensive curricula spanning a wide range of business issues, his pillar remaining the entire concept and definition of ethical behavior, both as a vision in a new world order and as a practical instrument in the business and socio-political field. Originally from a Catholic background, he became a Baha'i at the age of 16. He served on the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of Italy, the democratically elected governing body of the Baha'is of Italy, for 45 years, and is also a co-founder of the European Baha'i Business Forum. And with that, I'll hand it off to Dr. Robiati.
Good evening. I say good evening. Good evening, friends, because I'm talking from the other side of the ocean. So we are near to be, it's near to be evening. In America, you are near for lunch. Lucky you. We already had our lunch many hours ago. I'm very happy to be here with the friends. I do not know if some of you knows about the Baha'is or not. I will say a few words just to introduce you the idea of what is the Baha'i faith, because the subject about the future after the pandemic is the Baha'i vision after the pandemic. The Baha'i faith was born in 1800 by a nobleman known in the world with the title of Baha'u'llah. In English is the glory of God. Baha'u'llah has given three main principles for his new faith. The first principle is that God is only one. We don't have several gods. God is unique, he's only one. Even if we called him with different names, if we have prayed him with different prayers, and if we have adored him in a different way, but he is always the same unique God. And just to make an example, not to be misunderstood, we can make the example about the sun. The sun is only one, even if we call him with different names, depending on the nation and on the language we call him. But anytime we refer about the sun, everybody knows exactly of what we are speaking. And the second principle is that God, when he created his mankind, he has made a promise to mankind that any time mankind would have problems, God would have sent a teacher, a spiritual teacher, to guide humanity in the right path. This happened many, many times in the history. We know some of these spiritual teachers with the name of Buddha, Krishna, Zoroaster, Abraham, Moses, Jesus Christ, Muhammad, and now Baha'u'llah. Generally speaking, all the religions founded in the history are coming from the same God. In reality, are like the class of an institution where the children, which is the humanity, are passing from one stage to the other stage, changing the teachers, but trying to study the same course. And this is why the religion is progressive. So the religion is not just to be taken for the 10,000 years, but depends on the time and on the needs of humanity. Is that because God is only one and religion is only one, due to the fact that has come during the is only one. Human species is only one, but it's totally diversities of these species are only secondary diversities, like the color of the skin, like the region of the people. Here, that Baha'u'llah is bringing the unification of mankind. The planet will be only one, with one God, one religion, and one mankind. So now we go back to the subject about the future of after the pandemic. We cannot forget the time we are living in, because this is a special time, and no one could have imagined in the past what kind of changes COVID-19 would bring into people's daily life, in business activities and in social interactions. And we don't know for how long time we will have to live with such a situation. But this event of the COVID gives us a big chance to redefine our way of living individually and collectively. Therefore, we need to pause and reflect about the history of evolution to understand this historical time, and if you want to be part of shaping the future. I will show you some slides during my talk in order to would be clear what I'm saying to you. Can you say yes with the head? Is it okay?
Yes, we can.
So the evolution of human society, it is not like a parable. You see the parable here, the red one, the red line. We were here on the lower part, on the left, and now we are here at the upper part, and everybody is happy. This is what generally the people think about evolution. In reality, if we study the evolution by the scientific point of view, human society has developed through difficult transitions, stages of steps, jumping from a lower level to an upper level. So if we go back for thousand years in the history, we were individuals. We came together creating families. The families came together due to the need to protect themselves from the nature. They became tribes. The tribes came together. They started to build villages. The village came building walls around the village, became city. The city became city-state. Try to think about the Roman Empire, what kind of the big state we had with the idea of political city-state. Then the city-state became empire, and the empire in the 1700s became nations. So this is the evolution of human society. Of course, this is a model, a mathematical model, just to show you how the things were going into the past. Of course, the stages have been not always the same. But what is important to understand is that to jump from a lower level to the upper level, there were periods of transition with vibration and turmoil, like civil wars, social crisis, growing problems, and so on. We reached the level of the nation in the 1700s. The time of nation can be divided into three stages. A nation depending on an empire. Then later on, an independent nation, and finally a sovereign nation. A sovereign nation is a nation where the people of the nation vote in a democratic way for the government. Now, what is important to understand that if we reflect on the last 200 years since the nation was born, there have been events that should have got us thinking. Very important events. 2 world wars, several global financial crises, the last one, 2008, that have affected the entire world economic system. a huge migration of millions of poor people in many parts of the world, racial wars, terrorist attack everywhere, climate changes, pollution of the environment at incredible speed, increase of extremes of wealth and poverty to a non-acceptable level, concentration of the wealth of the planet into the hands of a minority of the population, an increasing of poverty everywhere, the rise of conflict, whether ethnic or religious, across many nations of the world, affecting children, women, innocent population, escalation of corruption and thirst for power, the growing of inequality between men and women in the fields of economy, environment, employment, and health, just to name but a few, and the increase of the ideologies and so on. This means that we are in a period of transition with many vibrations and with a strong turmoil. The turmoil is caused, generally speaking, by many causes, but there are 5 causes scientifically which are very important: environment, employment, health, women, world economy. Environment is a big vibration. Everywhere we have a problem. The planet is only one. We are approaching the problem of environment with 220 different laws, depending on the fact that we have about 220 nations of the world. But really, we are in a period that there are only a few years to accept the idea that we have to change our way of living to protect the environment. The second one is employment. Millions of people are moving from one side of the planet to the other to find a job. And this is creating a lot of problems. In the Mediterranean Sea, you have the people from Mexico, South America, the people in East Asia, Australia, they have the people from Vietnam, from Korea, from Laos, and all these poor people looking for a job to survive. Health. We will come back to the problem of health because we are living in the middle of a pandemic item. Women. When we think about women, we have to think about discrimination of the women. And generally, when I speak about discrimination of the women, the people think about the Arab countries or Africa or South America. In reality, I am working in a business community. Women are discriminated in the business community in such a way that is unbelievable. Then we have the world economy. World economy is really in a very difficult situation due to the fact that the modern world economy is based on a conference who was done after the Second World War in 1945 in a conference called the Bretton Woods Conference, where the seeds of the G7 were born. Today, the world economy is managed by the G7. 7 countries of this planet are managing the economy of a planet. And we have outside the G7 very important communities like China, like India, like Brazil, like South Africa, like Vietnam, like Korea, like Ghana. And the G7 is really managing the economy due to the interest of the 7 by themselves. So today there are about 220 nations in the world, and each one of them is acting independently from the others to find a solution to these 5 main problems. So each nation is approaching environment, employment, health, women, and world economy by its own laws. But the solution cannot come from the level of the nation because the problems are universal. So the first reflection we have to do is that humanity has not reflected on the crisis we already had. We did not reflect on the consequences of this crisis. And now, a small, invisible virus is teaching us that the structure of society at large is not adequate to solve global problems with more than 220 national policies in operation. This virus does not respect geographical borders, skin color, gender, religions, wealth or poverty, different political systems. It moves quickly, without a passport, through the entire planet and has shown humanity that he is able to attack people everywhere and structures at any level and everywhere. Of course, this situation finds us unprepared, both at the individual level and at the structure and the institutional level, on which society is based today. Our society has not learned until now the absolutely necessity to develop a global structural system with global laws, global executives, global economic system, and global institutions. Now we are paying heavily for our lack of capacity to deal with it. I hope that governments, the institutions, the inhabitants of the planet are learning that this is the time to start to move towards a new world structural system. So the fact that we are in a period of transition, this means that the turbulence and the vibrations are telling us that we are at the dawn of a new jump. We will bring humanity from the national level to transnational level. So we have to realize that our society will be safe only if the entire planet is safe. So the question that emerged from all sides is this: we will make it, and if so, how? The answer is yes, but the yes have some conditions. First condition, the liberal, this is very important, take note. The liberal, extremely capitalist, heavily materialistic way of life, which is based and oriented only towards consumption and profit, to enjoyment and to the assumption that we have the right to indulge our lower impulses and passions, should be revised. Second condition, are we ready as a global society to change the way in which we have been living in the last century? If so, can we accept that we have to work hardly to change it? And again, are we ready to accept that maybe we are not ready to fully see the results of the transformation? And again, are we ready to believe that this is not possible, not only possible, necessary and inevitable? Now, there is another question. Are we ready as nations to give sovereignty to a wider and higher institution like a world government? And again, are the G7 ready to leave the economic power to a world institution? And again, are national governments ready to declare that the planet and the resources under their territories are no longer their property, but the property of a world institution like a world government? Are the people of the world ready to accept the idea of having a world legislative body which will issue laws for the entire planet? Because up to now, 200 nations are managing law in 200 different ways. Now, how can we think that the current social system, driven to the point of being able to destroy the planet itself, can face the challenges of a de facto globalized world without barriers, borders, and powered with technology and information unimaginable a few years ago? So the whole stage is set for the big jump. And the jump is the recognition that humanity is a unique living organism composed of interdependent elements, so that the well-being of the one affects the whole, and the health of the wealth of the whole depends on the interaction between the individuals. The big jump is the answer to all previous questions. So the ultimate goal is the unification of the planet. Furthermore, we need to acquire awareness of our essential nature, which is not only made of a physical body, but also and above all of intelligence, inner qualities, gems of inestimable values, skills, mutual service and respect. These inner qualities, these spiritual virtues, we can call them, must be brought out from ourselves and offered to society at large in a humble way. All of us understand that these gems of inestimable values are love, humility, generosity, friendship, interest in the community and not only in ourselves, service to others, beauty, acceptance of diversity in all aspects of life, like gender, race, nationality, culture, religion, and economic and social. But we also need a social order based on fairness and justice, without which no real unity is possible. Now, a very strong quotation. No profit, no economic growth, no success of economy or a society can be imagined without putting women and men, and generally human beings, at the center of the picture. The new values of this era are precisely universal education, equal dignity, human rights, opportunity and protection for every human being. And finally, a system of world government that values the cultural, historical, political, artistic, and ethic heritages that makes our planet a garden luxuriant and attractive because of the variety with which is enriched. And as many still fail to accept, we must realize that men alone cannot make a qualitative leap, because the future is immensely greater than our thought and our miseries. We need to lean on enlightened minds, high inspiration, hidden energies that emerge from the darkness of our ignorance. This is why the 19th century nobleman with the title of Baha'u'llah has come to give us a vision, instrument, and hope to realize these goals. The banner of his face is, "The earth is but one country and mankind its citizens." This quotation may at first appear simply a beautiful phrase, but we have to search the depth of its inner meaning. The first part is easy. The planet is becoming a common house where the inhabitants are free to move from one room to the other without requiring a visa, presenting a passport, changing language, currency, and so on. When you are in your own personal apartment, you move from the dining room to the kitchen without asking any permission, without presenting any passport, without changing your currency and your language. And this should be exactly in the future about the planet. But the second part of the quotation is the strongest part of the phrase. And this is not clear to the majority of human beings living today on the planet. Today, Baha'u'llah is introducing in the second part, the mankind, its citizen, the subject of citizenship, which today is a point of conflict. Today, the passport is fundamental. I'm an Italian, so I have an Italian passport. This passport gives me some rights which are fundamental. Freedom and liberty, free education paid by the government, social security and great opportunity to have a job or to be helped by the government if I don't have the job, for pension at a certain age. These items are granted by my government only because I have an Italian passport. But if I was born in Zimbabwe or in the Congo with a Zimbabwean or Congolese passport, I would not have all these rights granted. And the majority of the population of this planet do not have this right granted. So the second part of the quotation, "The earth is but one country and mankind its citizens," tells us that independently of where you were born, you should be granted the same rights and benefits and opportunities. This means the children, the women, the men of the entire planet will have the same possibility independently from where they are born, because they are citizens of the world. This is a revolution in a society at large, a big revolution. If you look around, you can understand why this quotation is a big revolution. But this is only an example. We show how immense is the depth of such a statement for all aspects of our life, guiding not only individual behavior and attitude towards others, but all levels of human interaction, of governance, institutional organization, and society itself. So try to go back about the 5 main problems. We will approach the problems not with 220 nations, but with the unification of the nations in order that the approach will be united, giving the solution. Now we are in the middle of the pandemic problem. You see around the planet how many approaches we had for the pandemic, how many different systems of protecting us, how many difficulties we had in keeping the population informed. Each nation is going by itself. And the problem is that when one is moving to another nation, it brings with him the virus, because the virus is very happy to be moved from one nation to the other, because it doesn't know that he needs a passport. It doesn't understand why we have a problem with the color of the skin, why do we have the problem with the gender, why do we have a problem with people who are poor and rich. And this is giving us, is becoming a master. The virus is becoming a master, teaching us that the only direction to beat him is to become united in the instruments and in the political system. So reflections on this is necessary to flesh out the practical steps needed to reach this level. From an economist who was the CEO of the European Central Bank, Mr. Mario Draghi, I want to quote a part of his talk given a couple of months ago. He was saying in the conference in Brussels, there is a fundamental area for growth, whereby a long-term vision must be committed to immediate action. Can you try to understand how long-term vision we have in our political people today, starting from US, going to Italy, go to Japan, go to China? The people are committing themselves in the next 3 weeks, 1 month, 2 months. No one is committing with a long-term vision. And now we have to commit to an immediate action, which education is the most important investment in the next generation. This was always true in the past, but yet the current situation needs a massive investment in intelligence and financial resource in this sector, both imperative and urgent. Participation in the society of the future will require today young generation to possess even greater capacities for discernment and adaptation. If we consider the cultures and the nations that have best handled uncertainty and the need for a change, they all have assigned education a fundamental role in preparing young people to handle change and uncertainty in their life path through wisdom and independence judgment. So the earth-bound country is becoming the ultimate goal, and all the ideas, starting from education, going to the economy, going to social problems, going to the necessity for the women to come out from discrimination, becoming in the ideas of Bahá'í, the wings of a bird. The bird cannot fly only with one wing, the wing of the man. We need the 2 wings, men and women should go together like a good engine in order to reach the ultimate goal. So our contribution today is to reflect and to rethink society after the pandemic, sharing a new vision, the vision of Baha'u'llah with society at large, with wisdom, detachment, flexibility, and patience. The responsibility that each one of us has is the ability to distinguish what is useful and what is harmful in the sole interest of the collective good. I send my love to each one of you.
Thank you so much for your talk, Dr. Robiati. I really enjoyed the kind of when you talked about the prerequisites and how we can get there. So now we can have a Q&A session. So if you have a question, you can put it in the chat and I will read it out loud. You can just wait a few seconds for some questions.
Yeah, no worry. I mean, the subjects are so many that, of course, it's not easy to ask questions.
Brenda is asking where you're talking from.
Oh, I'm talking from Italy, north of Italy. I'm living in Milan. Milan is an industrial town in the north part of Italy. This is the red zone for the virus. This is the worst part of Italy where the virus was really killing a lot of people and putting people into the hospitals and put the hospitals in a very difficult situation due to the fact that the number of those who were requiring medical assistance, that technology and hospitals were not ready to such a massive number of people. Now it's becoming better, but of course, this is the same everywhere. And the reflection in these days is very important about what the virus is teaching us. This is very important for us to understand. And maybe the virus has come in a special time where this kind of reflection are very important for the future.
We have a question from David. He says, you didn't talk about the need for a world government. What do you see as the need for that and how to establish it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you talk today about world government, the people, they think that you are totally crazy because it's very so far away to have a world government. We are living in Europe and we have an European Parliament, which is should be the government of Europe. After 50 years, we are still in the same situation. Nothing has been done. So the idea of a world government should come only when the people have reflected about the unification of the people, because we cannot have a world government when the planet is divided by religions, creeds, fighting each other, fighting for the color of the skin, fighting due to the fact that there is a different, there are two sexes, men and women, and the government is a vision that should become a daily idea for us. So the planet is like a satellite. Is a sphere. Is a ball running in the universe. When the people from the space, when they went to the moon, they were watching the planet. Someone was asking, "What do you see?" They said, "We see a blue planet. We don't see the colors of the skin. We don't see the religions. We don't see the borders of the nations. We don't see anything else than a sphere where the people living on the sphere should be united." So the idea of the world government is something that will come because this is a necessity to have worldwide laws to approach the environment, to approach the problem of the health, the problem of economy, and the problem of employment, because each one of these nations is running with its own laws. And this is the need for the future to have a common government. It will take decades, it's not for tomorrow morning. But the education of the new generation should be done with the idea that the planet should be guided and managed by a world government.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Armin, and she asks, how and when did you become a Baha'i?
Oh, I became Baha'i. I was born in Africa because my parents went to Africa at the time of the colonies. So my father went in Africa in the 30s, and we came from a Christian background. I have a brother and two sisters, and the whole family is from the Christian background. We met the Baha'is when we were young people. At the beginning, we had a lot of difficulties because my father didn't want us to talk with somebody else who was not Christian. But you know, slowly, we understood that the Baha'i idea, the Baha'i vision, was really involving all our ideas of the past. In reality, the Baha'i faith is a faith. It's not a traditional religion with dogmas, with clergy people, with let's say rites. The Baha'i faith is a way of living. It's a way to have a vision about the future, a vision on a personal life and a vision of collective life. And for us, living in a country where there were 5 religions, the Christian, the Coptic, the Muslim, the Jewish, and the Catholic, there were a lot of fightings. And sometimes the clergy people were telling us that you should play only with the friends from the Catholic religion. We had a lot of friends from the Jewish, from the Muslim, and we were thinking by ourselves, why we should not play with other people from other religions? So one day we met the Baha'is, and they told us that all the religions are coming from the same God. God is unknown, but is only one. All the religions are like the class of an institute where the people is jumping from one class to another. And later on, we understood that the progressive revelation was a good idea, and was a good idea to have today a spiritual teacher giving us a vision about the future, about the unity of mankind, about the unity of religion, and about the unity of people living on the planet. And this for us was so clear that the door was open to a new vision for the future.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Khosrow, and he asks, how do you see the disparity of vaccine availability? Most rich countries have over 80% of the vaccines purchased, and the majority of poor countries are unable to buy it. Failure of the global institutions to protect us all.
Oh, the problem is that the vaccine should be given free of charge. This is the only way to solve the situation. I think that the United Nations should really interfere, giving the possibility to all the people of the world, 7.5 billion, to have everything free of charge. This is the only way. There is no other way, because I'm an economist, so I cannot use this hour to tell you about the world economy. World economy is a big crisis, because 20 years ago, the International Monetary Fund in a conference in Switzerland declared 20 years ago, the CEO of the International Monetary Fund declared that 80% of the resources of the planet are in the hands of 20% of the population. Now, last year in February, in Davos, another CEO of the International Monetary Fund declared that the 80% of the resources of the planet are not in the hands of 20% of the population, but in the 1% of the population. This means that the economy is in the hands of a big minority of the people of the world. The majority is becoming on the other side of the planet in poverty. And this is a problem due to the fact that we don't have exactly the idea that the economy should help the evolution of mankind and not the evolution of 1% of the population. So the need of new laws from the world government, from a financial institution, on a worldwide financial institution, taking away all the unethical problems we have in the financial situation. And this can be done only when we will understand that the future of mankind is the earthquake bottom country and mankind is citizens. It will take decades, maybe centuries, but this is the only goal, the only purpose. Otherwise, we will destroy the planet by ourselves. This quotation has been written in the 18th century, in the 1800s by Baha'u'llah when he was in prison. Baha'u'llah, he declared his faith at the middle of the 1800s, and for 40 years he was in prison due to the persecution of the Iranian government and the government of the Ottoman Empire. He was put in prison at the beginning in Tehran, then in Baghdad, then in Constantinople, then in Akka, which was a city prison, where he died in 1892. During this time, he gave us the vision of the future. Nobody today has the vision of Baha'u'llah about the earth's bottom country, because this is the only solution for the evident solutions to the problem.
Thank you. Our next question is from Greg, and he asks, what actions can we do today to make this goal happen?
This is very easy. We cannot solve the world problems. We are not head of states. We are simple people working in our place, meeting our friends, growing our family. What we have to do is we have to give this vision to the people around us, the people in our family, our kids, the people working with us, telling them that the vision that we should take on individual basis should be done now. You know, I want to make an example. When the farmer is putting the seed of a lemon tree into the ground, into the soil, this is a small seed. The farmer, he has the vision of the end of the process because he sees the lemon when the tree is already grown up. Because otherwise, from the seed, he will never have the fruit if he will not work hardly during the 10 or 15 years before reaching the maturity of the tree. So the problem is that we have to see the end in the beginning. We have to see to our friends. Do you want, or our kids or people working with us? Do you want to go on with this planet with such injustice situation, with so many poor on the country, on the planet, with so difficult problems for the women, for the economy, for the health, for the environment? Do we want to go on with the same system? Okay, don't do anything, just live using your time for your ego, just to enrich yourself and to benefit yourself. But if you are not happy how the plan is going on and you want to have a new vision, you have to put the semen of the lemon, giving the end of the process. The end of the process we are putting today is the seed of unity. Unity will take for the tree of unity some centuries. But we are the farmers today. We are putting the seed, and we know that we will have difficult time because we have to water the seed, we have to protect the seed, we will have enemies against the seed. But we know that the process is the one that we have to protect the growing of the seed and of the tree. So what we have to do today is when the Baha'i say teach the faith of Baha'u'llah, this is not to convince the people to become Baha'i, but to give a vision for a personal life, to become a better person, a vision not to do everything for yourself, but to share what you have with those people living around you, sharing the vision of the unity of mankind. And this is the fruit. When the emperor of one of the Eastern countries decided one day to visit his empire, he took the horse and he went around alone. At a certain time, he met a farmer and he was putting the seeds of new trees. So the emperor came down from the horse and asked to the farmer, "What are you doing here?" And the farmer said, "I'm putting seeds of new trees." And the emperor said, "What kind of trees are you putting into the soil?" He says, "Nuts." So the emperor said, "You are totally crazy because it will take 40, 50 years to have nuts. And this is absolutely unusual." You know what the farmer said? "Dear emperor, can you watch behind your shoulders? There are a lot of trees there, nut trees. If 50 years ago the people did not put the seeds, today we will die for starvation." So the emperor understood very well that the seeds were for the future. We are putting the seeds for the future. Maybe we will not see the end of this process, but we will have our grandson, great-grandson, that will say, "Thank you so much, because in the year 2000, you have put the seeds of unity."
Thank you. Enrica says, "Wonderful talk, thank you. Do you think that a small degree of differences across the countries may actually increase our chances in the fight against the virus? Very much like natural experiments, differences across nations may highlight which approach works best and which doesn't."
Now, you know, I'm not a doctor. The only answer I can give is we have to follow the scientists, because this is a scientific problem. It's not a political problem. It's not an economic problem. We have to follow the scientists, because this is the only solution to find the system to beat the virus. When the scientists, as they are doing now with vaccines, They will tell us this is the time to get the medicine, get the medicine. Of course, there are people, the people have different qualities. I'm coming from Africa. The Africans are really stronger than the Europeans because they live in a much more difficult environment. So maybe differences. Also, we have differences in taking care of the people. But with the virus, we have to really be united, and also the laws should be united. You know, Christmas time. This is crazy. The people is moving from one country to another, and they bring the virus with themselves. If we don't have a common political approach, we have a problem in January with the third wave. You see, the problem of unity is now very critical. The virus, I generally, in my profession, I'm saying that the virus is a master for us. He's teaching us how to do it and how to beat him. The virus is telling, Mr. Robiati, do you know the way to beat me? Unification of the system against myself. Otherwise, I will be.
Our next question is from Erwin, and he asks, please comment on how the current pandemic has forced a leap in certain technologies and international cooperation among scientists. Thank you.
Oh, this is very important. International cooperation is absolutely important. If you are all young people, you know, in the 70s, in the 60s, when the people went on the moon, there was a fighting between Russian and Americans. Each one of them went by itself. Today, slowly, we understood that the only way to find the right solution is to put the scientists of all the nations together, Chinese, Russian, Italian, American, working together, because this is the only way. But this is not only for the medical problem or scientific problem. This is for all the problems. Try to take the second vibration, employment. You know, the law in America is different from the law in Italy. The law in Italy is different from France, is different from Germany, is different from Japan. But the people, 40% of the people of the world have not a job. What do? They go here and there where they think that they can find a job. But the only solution is to have a worldwide solution for the people. Try to invest in those countries. For example, why the Africans are coming to Europe and to America? Because nobody is investing in Africa. We have to invest in agriculture field in order to give them the chance to stay in their own countries. You see, unity is the solution of everything. The solution scientifically, the solution on a medical care, the solution on economy.
Thank you. Our next question comes from David, and he asks, thank you for the talk. Regarding this concept of global citizenship, how does this work in practical economic terms? How does one convince a wealthy industrialized economy with 300 or 400 million people to share their tax resources with a collective of underdeveloped economies with 2 or 3 billion people?
Oh, you know, this is a dream. We will never convince the people today in this direction. The growth of a tree is not coming. The tree is not coming already done. It takes time. We have to educate the new generation. If I want to convince the manager, the business people today, the profit is not only the only purpose of a company, I lose my time, because the education they have received at the university is that a company, the only thing of a company is profit, and the market is the arena where the profit should be done without any ethical values. If I want to convince people of my age, I'm 72, working companies, I will lose my time. We have to convince the new generation. I'm teaching at the university ethics and economy towards the new world order with 240 students. We have to convince the people where the people are starting their career at the university, at the high school, at the primary and secondary school. We have to bring new values in the society. And new values are not only the values you can count with money, are the values which are the elimination of prejudices, the problem of the differences between discrimination with the women. So we have to educate the new generation with a new vision. The old generation is gone. In 40 years, they will be out. We have to educate new generation with new values. And the new values are totally different from the values we have today in the economy. I don't want to enter into the subject about financing, about financial situation. You know, financial situation is very critical in the world because it's managed by few companies and without any value. Because the value in the economy today is profit, and profit is for myself. So the ego is the one who drives the economy. We have to change the situation. Profit is important because without profit, we cannot live, but profit should be also shared with those who have cooperated with me. So a new idea of business, a new idea how business should be done with international laws. There is not any international law about financial situation. Each country goes by itself. There is a lot of unethical behavior around the planet with multinational companies who are really capable to commit themselves in a political issue where they have dictators. They try to take, for example, the Congo. The Congo is a white state in Africa, full of gold, full of copper, full of cobalt, which are very important resources for the modern technology. You know, the Congo has a dictator because with the democracy, we could not use those resources using the slaves, using the children in the caves, trying to take the gold and the copper from the mines. So this is due to the fact that there is not any law on international basis. So when I speak about unity of mankind, I speak also about universal law, about a worldwide government, and also institutions who will protect the people and who will control the situation. But today is absolutely out of control.
Thank you. Our next question comes from David, and he asks, do you think the increasing exploitive power of global corporations will require the development of world governmental organizations to control them?
Yeah, the subject of power should be taken in one more Saturday afternoon, because the problem of power is very important. You know, teaching at the university, I generally say we have to change the word power with the word service, because we need service today. We don't need power. Power is already done, has gone. And power means that you have the power to do things. In reality, we have to change the role of the institutions from full of power in full of services, because service is to give opportunity to everybody to grow up. Power is giving opportunity only to those who have power to develop themselves for themselves.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Oranus, and she asks, does Italy's culture and history allow them to be open to the principles of the faith?
You know, Italy is a Catholic country, and as other countries, Christian country, but we have something that other countries have not. We have the Vatican State inside Italy, which is very powerful, and the Vatican State in reality is a very powerful power. Economic power, social power, and they control a lot of things. So in Italy, Italy is a good country. The Baha'i faith is grown quite well, but it's not so easy. It's not so easy due to the fact that the church has the hands everywhere.
We have a question from Shirin. I will unmute her so she can ask.
Okay.
Thank you. Hello, Beppe dear. Hello. I'm so sorry. It was taking me so long to type. You would have all been here for hours.
Okay.
My question is that in a recent message of the governing body of the Baha'i faith, the Universal House of Justice, they really talk about that there is a real depletion of hope in the world, and how really it is our mission, let's say, I'm paraphrasing, our mission really to give hope. And my question is, how do you feel we can give hope to the people around us? How do we gain hope ourselves? And how can we really give hope to everyone around us?
Okay. This is a very good question. You know, I have to go, you know, Baha'u'llah has written during his life thousands and thousands of tablets and books. If you put all the tablets they will reach the volume of 100 volumes. One of the book he wrote when he was in Baghdad, he was a home prisoner in Baghdad. He wrote a book called The Seven Valleys. The Seven Valleys is a very difficult book. It's a mystical book. And in the Seven Valleys, he says that you have to tell the people the end into the beginning. Because if we put the people in a difficult way without giving a vision of the future, it will be very difficult for them to solve the problem. So Baha'u'llah says to any problem, you have to give the end in the beginning. Even himself has given us the end in the beginning. Unification of mankind is the end, is the goal we are working for. So the best way to give hope to the people is to tell them the end of the process. For example, take out the pandemic. The pandemic is a difficult time for everybody. But inside there is a wisdom activity we can do. The wisdom activity is you have to reflect about individual purpose of life and collectively purpose of life. At the beginning, I was showing you the process of evolution. So the people of our age who are living in a national level, the hope is to jump up to a new level, because this is the way, and this is a natural process, because when someone is born, at the beginning he's a child, then he becomes a teenager, then he becomes an adult, then he becomes maybe a doctor or an engineer. So there is a process taking time. But the mother, when she is near to give birth, will be very difficult for her to suffer if she does not know that she is giving a birth to a child. And this child will be a lawyer, will be a president of the United States of America, or will be the father of a family. So she has the idea of the end in the moment that she is giving birth. So to give the end into the beginning. So today we are telling the people to give hope. We know that the pandemic is a terrible situation, but the pandemic is helping even the politicians to reflect about the future of mankind. It's giving the possibility to people at home to understand what is the purpose of life, to give the families the possibility to stay together and to talk during the day. And also to 100 people as we are today, or maybe more, to talk together thanks to the pandemic, because without the pandemic, we will not have Zoom, and without the Zoom, we could not talk each other. So you see, in Italian, we say that any time we have two faces in the middle, the front one and the back one. Sometimes we have to see the end on the other side of the middle, like the moon. We don't know what is on the other side of the moon. We have to imagine a better future for our children, for ourselves. And the best way is not to give a fantasy, but to say, as I am showing you here, wait a minute, because this is very absolutely important, even to the young generation, to show them this step. So 3,000 years ago, we were individuals, we were families, we were tribes, we were villages, we were city. In the 1800s, this is 200 years ago, we had empires. If you don't remember Europe, we had Napoleon III, the Queen Victoria of England. We had Francis Joseph from Austria. We had Pius IX. We had Abdulaziz, who was the emperor of the Ottoman Empire. After 200 years, we have nations. The people is free. Not everywhere, because the process has not reached the end. Some of the nations are not yet nations. They are not so democratic. They will become democratic slowly, slowly. You are very young people, so you don't remember at the time of the 1965, 68, I was at the university. China was under Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong was a leader, but he was a leader in the way that he was a dictator. After 50 years, there is not a democracy, but the Chinese have a different life since the time of Mao Zedong. Maybe in 50 years, they will grow up to become a democracy. So slowly, slowly, Europe was born during the 50s, during the 1950s. At the beginning, there were 6 nations. Now there are 27. Of course, unity is not yet reached, but it will take time. And the virus is helping the head of the state of Europe to become together and to find a solution. And slowly, slowly, Europe will talk in the future with the US of America, trying to find better solutions for everything. We'll talk with China and so on. This is the way that the people from different culture became with the same nation. And from the nation, we will become transnation. And from transnation, we will become unification of mankind. It will take time. But the vision is that the lemon are already there in our minds. Hi, Brenda.
Thank you. Our next question is from Iris, and she asks, in what field/career paths should a young person invest time and effort in order to be most useful to society?
Oh, this is a very interesting subject. We should have another hour, another afternoon. You know, it's very difficult today to understand, for example, if you have a boy or a girl, you have to choose university. What kind of university are we going to suggest them? Because we don't know about the future. There are few fields that we know that will have in the future very easy way to find a job. One of the problems is absolutely the environment. Working in the environment, this is the future of mankind. The environment is also water, sweet water. Half of the population of the planet have no sweet water. So we have to realize that a lot of people will become scientists to find new sources of water to use to transform water in special equipment in order to purify the water, or to use the water we have in big quantities in some areas. For example, one of the big areas where we have water is the Congo, with the Congo River, which has 1 cubic meter per second, that this water can be really given to all the desert areas. But the problem is always that the political Congo is of the Congolese, so we cannot give to the rest of Africa. So this is one of the subjects, environment. The second one is absolute agriculture. Agriculture, in the writings of Baha'u'llah, and also written by a tablet of Abdul Baha, is the first part of investment of a country. First investment in a country should be education. The second one is agriculture, because agriculture is what we eat. And this is one of the most important subjects that in the last 50 years has been absolutely obscured and abandoned, but this is the future of mankind. The third one is, of course, health. And you understand now why, because we are in the middle of pandemic, and many of the countries have not enough doctors and people working in the field. And then one of the most important activities is economic activities, but the economy, not in the sense that producing only profit, but economy with ethical behavior, where the fruits of the work of the companies should be reinvested in having people at work.
Thank you. Our next question is from Khosra, and he asks, given the way you presented human evolution from family and tribe to nation, would you say that the next phase of evolution post-pandemic would be shift from national sovereignty to individual rights?
Yeah, it can be. I'm not a prophet. I do not know exactly. So you should ask to God this question, and I don't know if he will answer. I personally think that when we have unification in the idea of Baha'u'llah is unity in diversity. So we have to keep diversity of the population, diversity of the customs, diversity of the way we are living, diversities even of food, of course, but also diversity on individual qualities. Each one of us is unique in the universe. So what we can give, nobody else can give to the system. So each one of us should find. You remember what Baha'u'llah was saying about when someone is asking, how do you define a human being? Baha'u'llah didn't say that the human being, as it was in the past, was a slave or was a manager or was a producer or was a consumer. Baha'u'llah gave a beautiful answer. Human being is a mine of gems of inestimable value. So we are mine of gems, and we are full of gems, and we have to give a disposal of society these gems in order that the society can benefit of our gems, of our talents, of our qualities. If we keep these gems for us, they don't produce anything. They just die in ourselves with the ego.
Thank you. Our next question is from Patricia, and she asks, have you seen any evidence of a national government which recognizes the need for a world government system?
Absolutely no. Governments today, they are keeping the power for themselves. Nobody of those who are the top of the power. We have also countries where those who have been elected, they don't want to leave the chair. You know exactly of what I'm speaking. So no national government today has an idea of a world government, but people working into parliaments can be. I have some people I know, but this is a minority. We have to work on the basement. We have to convince the population slowly, in order that the population becomes convinced about the unification of mankind, about unity in diversity. We are all flowers of the same garden. Each one has his own color, each one has his own form, each one has his own perfume. But slowly, they will understand that the garden is only one, and we need a unique political vision for the future. But really, you lose your time if you try to convince the government to think about the world government.
Thank you. Our next question is from Habib, and he asks, what do you imagine the type of obstacles or challenges nations would have in the process of creating a single country with a world economic system that would give all humans equal opportunity to flourish regardless of where they live?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
What do you imagine the type of obstacles or challenges nations would have in the process of creating a single country with a world economic system that would give all humans equal opportunity to flourish regardless of where they live?
Yeah, no, this is really impossible because we have to reach the apex of the process together. We cannot have an example in a nation and then develop the model of that nation. This is impossible because today we have a big problem in the world. The technology is already united the planet because technology has gone over the diversities, and this is Zoom is one of the examples. So it will be impossible to have a nation which will be developed with everything and will be a model for the rest. No, we have to grow. And to grow, I tell you, we will have a lot of, when I'm showing the vibrations here, when I'm showing the vibration and turmoil, don't think that the turmoils and chaotic situations are over. They will come again and again and again and again until we will not understand that the solution is that one. So maybe now we have the pandemic, maybe in a couple of years, we have something else. We had in the last 20 years a financial crisis to 2008, where the world economy has gone over. I mean, was really bankrupt. Then we had the problem of millions of people from Africa, Eastern Asia, and South America went to the civilized country, millions. Then we had the problem of terrorism. You had the victims in America, but in the rest of the planet, we had a lot of difficulties as well. Then we had the problem of the discrimination for women and men. So these are turmoil that have come in the past and will come again in the future until society will not understand that the vision is acceptance that mankind is only one, and we need to be managed with one world government, one universal law, only one God, only one religion. There is no way. We will take maybe 200 years, 300 years, but this is the only way to the solution. And when the problem will be okay, and then the society will be united, as we see into some of the writings, we will have in the future new manifestation of God, because there will be other problems. And from a city-state, we became nation. From nation, we became what unity, and then we have the unity of the planet, and then we will have the unity of the planets in the universe. So the process is growing up until infinite, because Baha'u'llah says that God has created infinite universes, and also the approach of evolution is infinite, and we don't know where it goes. The cycle of Baha'u'llah will last 500,000 years. 500,000 years. Can you imagine technology, being united, what the people will do? We will get in touch with the people from other planets, and we come together, and God will send a manifestation of God to unite the planets and so on until the infinite.
Thank you. Our next
Maybe
question.
someone of you is shocked, but this is the vision of the future. We had the vision of the future of the next 2 years. Baha'u'llah has given us the vision of 500,000 years. And this is impossible for us to understand. Many of the writings of Baha'u'llah, you know, Baha'u'llah has written about 20,000 tablets. Only 10% are translated into English. But there are tablets which really is involving another type of knowledge we have today, because this is the manifestation of the future. When I was in Africa, we didn't have the telephone. We were using the telegrams in those days. Then the fax came into the telex, and now we have the email, WhatsApp, we have the Zoom. We don't know what in the future we will have. Maybe we will be able to send a pizza from here to you at home without any problem by a system that will be discovered. We don't know. You know, God has hidden in the universe what we cannot really even imagine. And this is a beautiful, what Baha'u'llah says in the 6 valleys, that the valleys of astonishment. He wants to astonish us, even in the physical realm.
Our next question comes from Margarita, and she says,
My God, from where did you get all these questions?
She says, good evening from Greece. How do you think that combining all different traditions and cultures and so on is possible to be united in a unique spiritual way?
Of course, but this is the best question I've ever heard. We have to keep our diversities, my dear. We cannot live as Italians without spaghetti and pizza, because we cannot eat the spaghetti and pizza American style. It's impossible. As we cannot eat the Greek dishes, it's impossible to. So we have to keep all the diversities, to join this diversity in valuing and the beautification of life. It's not only food, dresses, way of living, approach to the problem. You know, when generally I say to my people, Baha'u'llah is saying that the people of the world are the flowers of the garden. Have you ever seen a garden all white flowers? In the beginning it's okay, but later on it's very boring. You know, Italian garden with so different flowers, different perfumes. Can you imagine 7 billion people bringing their beautiful differences, beautiful talents, beautiful gems they have inside, in life, in ideas, in spiritual ways. This is the most beautiful idea that Baha'u'llah is giving us, unity in diversity.
Thank you. Sue asks, is the EU an example to follow?
No, if you has a mix, EU is a good example, but the example has some defects. You know, the European Union was born in 1955 with six countries, and the idea was to have a market where the 6 countries could sell their own products. Slowly it grown up to 27. Now we have the currency, which is euro. But this is the only thing we have together. because the countries have totally different policies. We don't have an European financial system. We don't have an European employment system. We don't have an European law system. We don't have an European foreign policy system. We don't have an education system, due to the fact that at the beginning, Europe was not to become what we should like to have. But during the running, we understood that the best way to grow up is to enlarge the number of country, and in the same time, try slowly to put together the best things that each nation has. Now we are in the middle of the river. We have to work maybe for another 50 years. The pandemic is really is a big help. It's really giving a great teaching. Stay together, try to finalize laws for staying together, and so on.
Thank you so much. So I think that's the last question we have today. So I want to thank you again so much for your talk, Dr. Robiati, especially all the questions we had. There's so many good topics covered. So next week we will be
There is another question about languages.
I see a question.
Yeah, there is another question about languages. You know, the Baha'u'llah is giving the idea of an auxiliary word language. So each one of us will study its own language plus a word language in order that we'll speak two languages. Our language when you are at home, and the common language, auxiliary word language when we go around, so we can understand each other. This will help also the politicians, because they will understand better what they are saying with a common language. But it will take time. Okay, sorry.
Thank you. So we are canceling our program next week due to the holiday breaks, but we will resume the following week on January 2nd, and our speaker will be Miss Parisa Fitzhenley. And again, these talks occur every Saturday at noon Eastern Standard Time, so please invite your friends and family. And if you're new to the Baha'i Faith, or if you'd like to be added to our mailing list, you can fill out the Google form that we'll put in the chat below. And we're going to just end now with a closing song.
Thank you to everybody.
Thank you, everyone. We hope to see you all on January 2nd. Bye.